welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross Times Whiskey Throttle Podcast collaboration as we talk all things SMX from Charlotte for what was a wild weekend of action. Obviously, before we get cracking, we'd like to thank everyone for listening and supporting the website. We really appreciate it. We obviously just cracked 10K on the weekend, so thanks to the fans for all their support with that. We'd also like to thank our partners in 24MX, Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their incredible support, as without them, none of this would be possible. All right, for this one, I'm joined again by the great man, Whiskey Throttle Editor at Large, Jeff Beaver, who had the boots on the ground at SMX in Charlotte getting some wicked content. So how are you, mate? And great to be back home after a long weekend.
Yeah, I'm good, dude. Tired. Just kind of scraping through everything right now and looking at video. I've got some I had a request for a raw Tomac edit, so I think after we get off this call, I'm gonna crank out Tomac raw dogging the shit out of that track. That dude was hauling ass. When I got there Friday, I was watching him in the seated practice, and he was coming through that sand section up at the front by the tower, and he was just floating through there. And I go, dude, beast mode's back. And he, oh yeah, he was on it. I was so bummed he didn't beat Jet. I would have loved to have seen that. It would have just set up the next two rounds, if Jet would have not won it. But it was a win for Tomac to come back and do that well. But the thing that worries me, and I talked about it in our pod, is we've seen Tomac just come out and wax everybody and then get a ninth the next week. And you're like, so I hope that Tomac doesn't show up. I hope Beast Mode it can muster it up for a couple more days.
Yeah. No, it was sick seeing him out there, just racing amazingly. And it was great battling with the young start Jet too. Obviously, he said he learned from him the different lines and the way he was picking up sections and sort of connecting everything up. And he really gelled with that track, didn't he, mate? He loved the high speed. He loved that sort of hybrid stuff. It sort of really got the best out of him. And yeah, that first moto was another level. I don't think too many people were expecting that. And it seemed like the fans were just loving him too, mate. Could you feel that inside the strip there, mate? So he said, feeling good all day from practice to the races. He's got that mindset. The thumb's all pretty good. He loves a scoop to get him those starts. So pretty positive weekend for Eli, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, he was definitely well received. And man, standing on the side of the track 10 feet from him hitting that quad in the rhythm lane, that'll make you feel alive, dude. Even if you're on the fence, a couple feet back, just had the visceral feeling of being right there next to that dude. It's just unreal, dude. There's only air and opportunity between you and him when he goes by, dude. It's pretty badass, dude. The same with Hayden, dude. You're just like, holy shit. That tunnel jump, when we came out of the tunnel jump, we weren't allowed to really stay on the sides of the track. There was one spot that we were okay to stay in, but it was on the other side on the rhythm lane. But you were walk down to get to around the track, right? Well, when you would come around that tunnel jump, those 450 guys were hitting it to the right so hard when their path through the air. I turned around and I looked, and Tomac was basically over my head. I'm like, oh shit, that's sketchy. I gotta go here. Just if somebody's bike cut out, that'd make you change your underwear real quick. But I can move pretty quick when I'm scared, and I was a little scared on that one. That'll make you go, oh crap. But yeah, it's just an amazing feeling to be down there and have the opportunity to film that stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, also you got to witness, the old and the new. You got to see Tomac and Jet, having that battle, mate. Obviously, they've done a little bit in the past, but not so much, and probably not to that level, And talking about Jet, how good was the comeback, mate? Obviously, he found some really good lines like that jumping into the sand section, and just the way he navigates everything so good. He does it so technically superbly, just like his brother. And I guess he proved a lot of people wrong because, logically it takes a while to get back. And even his dad was saying, if you're out for a few weeks, you're going to take a few weeks to get back. But it's pretty frightening how good he was so early. And I guess he definitely deserves all the praise that comes his way. The lap times were amazing, and also the fitness just obviously tucked into the rehab, and he did everything right, but he obviously didn't lose too much looking at that. And it looked like in the first one he might have just settled into the pace, and then he got past his brother and he built into it really nicely. So, and then obviously that power move on Tomac was a real statement in the second, but clearly enjoying himself, mate. And I guess watching those two phenomenally talented riders go at it, I guess it's grab the popcorn and watch them go at it, isn't it, mate, for the next one?
Yeah, the dude was getting it. In that video I posted where they cross over the finish line jump together, you watch Jet, he stays about 2 feet lower than Tomac, and it's shot in slow-mo, so you can really see how Tomac kind of absorbs their face of the jump, and then how Jet, his technique is just a little smoother, and I guarantee you that that crossbar pad was against his chest when he went over the crest of the jump, and he just absorbs it so much better. He's still going forward, but he's absorbing that energy from popping him up so he doesn't seat bounce. That's where they're both avoiding basically, but it just slaps into his chest and kind of, it's like a little rebound dampening, I guess, using his body to do that. And he's just staying lower and getting to the ground quicker. And, it's those little techniques. It's the doubling into the sand section, that kind of stuff that those guys need to really watch film. I'd be watching I'd have somebody filming everything in slow-mo and just sit there, watch every lap he did in slow motion to see what he did, because I catch that stuff. You can't see that stuff on TV, and you can't see it when you watch a full speed video, but everything we film is in 4K 120, so 120 frames a second. So when you're watching it, it's mind numbingly slow, but you're like, oh, okay, that's how he did that, And so I'd be watching hours of that at night, just going, okay, that's how that little shit did that, And yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, it's fine margins at that elite level and sort of grabbing anything you can. The riders openly say they watch each other, while they're racing to see what they can do and ways you can go about it. And they obviously all have that dartfish technology where they're studying things. But yeah, definitely make for some good film study. Like, you see a lot of the ball sports, going on. But yeah, I guess we'll move on to Chase now, mate. He was really not happy with the result. You could hear him afterwards and in the press conference, and he hates losing. He's such a fierce competitor like the other guys. But I suppose you've got to take a step back. And I guess there's no real need for panic just yet, even though that's probably a confidence hit. Jet beating you first, race back from having that layoff. So I guess he was struggling a lot with the bike setup. Obviously, he had the bike dialed for motocross, and now that supercross setup needs dialing again. But he'll have a big week ahead, I guess, mentally as well as physically and all that, mate. But Chase, you can't deny it. He was still riding at an absolutely elite level. Just those other guys were a bit better, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't think it was his riding that was the problem. I think they just missed the setting on the bike. I mean, go look at our Whiskey Throttle edit. There's I don't know, somewhere in a couple edits back from the top one right now. He's just sitting there looking down at the ground over at the podium. And I just grabbed my iPhone and started recording him. And he turns like 2 seconds later to talk to his mechanic and just tells him, dude, I can only ride the bike for like 10 or 15 minutes, and starts talking about how the suspension was messed up. And then he talked about it in the post-race press conference. And, sometimes I wonder, I hope these guys, they see this shit and they're not like, oh, that son of a bitch. But he actually ended up liking the post, hey, he's pretty straightforward with it. A lot of people have been flaming him. They flamed him hard in the comments on that post. And it's like, oh, he's always got an excuse. Well, if the bike ain't right, the bike ain't right, and nobody ever really flamed Tomac too hard when he'd be like, dude, I'm not feeling it. The bike just wasn't set up for this. And he'd ride around in 8th place in Supercross. He ain't stupid. I'm not going to hit the ground just so you could say I'm cool, kiss my ass, so I don't blame him, hey, thanks for riding again, dude. Right on, brother.
Yeah, mate, he'll take the bonus check anyway and keep moving on. And, the level is just so high. You got to weigh up the risk and reward as well to make it through these long seasons. And I guess the track was a pretty special beast in some ways, super high speed, aggressive. And you even heard Heimer saying, I was so uncomfortable because you kind of got to take your brain out in some sections, because it's really super fast and you got to have that intensity, and it was quite narrow. And you got the walls pretty close, you were saying, mate. So the danger and the risk level was super high. And those rhythm sections were quite, they were challenging. A lot of riders saying how chewed out they got, and they just felt a little bit different to a usual Supercross one. So I guess you got to weigh up a lot of things to split start, and a lot of guys did eat it per se, Anderson, Barsha, Cochran, Swole, Nicoletti, RJ. There's so many big crashes, mate, and it's looking like most of them got through relatively unscathed, but it's a lot to weigh up. So these guys are all adapting to a lot of new things after this big season, so they're feeling pretty jaded, and they've got to go again for 3 more. So got to give these guys a little bit of respect and, a little bit of leeway when you're criticizing them, because it's no mean feat what they're doing.
Yeah. To me personally, the cool thing about SMX is they can do whatever the hell they want with it. And the kind of combining the tracks this last year and this year, yeah, it's cool, but I think the way they really ought to do it is they ought to go to Ironman or Unadilla, but then add in, if like Unadilla or Ironman's 2 miles for a lap time, add in another mile a section there. Just make it the longest, gnarliest motocross track you've ever seen, and throw in every freaking obstacle you could think of. Alligator pit, I don't give a shit. Water cannons, whatever. Like they did. If you look at Supercross in the 70s, they had the swamp pit out there. At LA Coliseum. But I know they're not going to do that. But I think they ought to make one round like a motocross track on steroids. Make it a 3.5 minute lap time, just huge, and have one event at like Unadilla or someplace that is just iconic and can handle a bit, in addition to the track. And then go build a supercross track, say at, I like the speedways, right? But build the supercross track, but make it like a 2-minute lap time supercross. Make it the gnarliest thing where those guys come out and go, "Oh, you guys are assholes, you evil bastards. What did you do?" You know what I mean? Make it like 10 rhythm lanes and 10 triples and, 4 whoop sections. Just make it freaking gnarly, but make it to where they can take their bike and set up a supercross suspension setting and go, "Okay, boys, it's just going to be gnarly this one," right? And make it a 30-minute moto in supercross, for the playoffs. Make it, you're paying them, make it gnarly, right? And then for the last round at Vegas, then make it like they're doing it now where it's a hybrid track, right? But at least they'd only have to do one hybrid setting for this series instead of having to try it 3 different times in 3 different soils. I think they ought to do one just absolutely monstrous national track, one absolutely monstrous supercross track, and then do a hybrid. I think that would be sick to see. I'd like to see what people think about that. Drop a comment when you see this and let us know what you think. But if it was me, that's what I would do. I thought that's what they were going to do at the beginning. And then when I was like, okay, they're going to do these mixed tracks, I go, those bikes are going to be more fucked up than a soup sandwich. I was like, and
that's cool.
That's the biggest beef. They're like, what do we do with the suspension, man? I was around so many teams. Like when I get my intermission, I get about an hour and a half. I'll go download. I'll just drop all my footage off my camera. And then I just kind of run around and go see everybody in the pits that I'm cool with. And every one of them was just, scratching their freaking head. Like, the hell do we do with our suspension, dude? It's crazy. I mean, it's a cool curve. It's great because it's throwing a huge curveball at them, but boy, they're frustrated as shit. And, we'll get into the post-race press conference, but at some point they're going to say, "Hey, screw this, dude. I don't want to do it." So I think that's why maybe there's room for the Super Motocross World Championship playoff rounds to morph into something more feasible for them to do. They're like, all right, cool. And I think just like I said, a gnarly motocross, a gnarly supercross, and maybe a hybrid would be the way to go.
Yeah, it's really cool insight there, mate. And obviously, with it being so new and the way it is, there is a lot of scope for refinement. And I guess to sort of be a bit inventive with things and maybe consult with the teams and the riders and stuff to see how it works. Because obviously, doing those settings on the fly, like you said, mate, it's obviously a bit of a head scratcher and you're always sort of back to the drawing board. But obviously, before we touch on that press conference, how were the fans? Was the engagement really strong there? Was there a good attendance? Were they close enough given the, confines of the strip there? And also, how was the media set up and the access for you, mate? Was it good for a filmer compared to normal races? And were they obviously doing a lot to promote this? And pre and post-race press conferences are pretty cool, mate. And they let the media answer some questions to the riders and that one on Friday with the podcast mashup. How was all that received from your angle as well, mate?
It was cool, man. A little hard to shoot those things because we didn't have any access to the inside of the track per se, except on the backside behind the start. And, during a race with your big old camera rig hopping over those drag race walls, that was fun. And then through the ditch, thank God it wasn't raining because we would have been cut off from the whole backside of the track, but the drainage ditch was dry. So we were able to get through there and get back to where I was standing right there when Anderson ate shit. I was filming 90 degrees the opposite way, but I saw him cartwheeling through the air as I turned my head and went, "Oh, that ain't good." And yeah, he hurt his back on that one. He's not to mention he smashed his face. He's bleeding when he got up. Yeah, he's a tough son of a bitch for even trying to come out and ride practice the next day. But yeah, it was a gnarly track to film. The media area we had though was so sick. We were in the tower at ground floor. So when I was sitting at my desk, like one of the LCQs started, I didn't get out there quite in time to catch the beginning of it. I'm sitting at my desk downloading some images and I'm watching him just rail through that sand section. I'm like, there's air conditioning in here. I've got the best seat in the house. Maybe I just don't go film this one. I mean, shit, James and Ricky are in a trailer off to the side of where we were sitting, kind of tucked back in this little corner. I go, I still got a better view than those dudes. It was a sick setup, and the fans were, dude, that place was packed. Some people said, "Oh, it doesn't look that packed. Well, yeah, when the TV shows it like between motos or something, and they're down getting something to eat or taking a leak or whatever, yeah, the stands are going to be empty. But dude, that paddock, it was packed. Luckily, I had a credential, so I could run down the drag strip and then go back where nobody could get in to get to the teams. But if I had to walk through the paddock to get where everybody's at, dude, I wouldn't even have gone. It was that packed. And then you get down to the Star Truck. If I didn't have access to go around to the back and go wherever I want, I wouldn't have gone down there, dude. You couldn't even walk through there, you know. Like one of the star guys was like, "Yeah, dude," and other teams are starting to complain that they don't want to pit by us because it's just a zoo for Hayden, dude. It's insane, you know. That it just, you know, he's so popular, dude. You can't even get around anywhere, you know, which that's a great problem to have for everybody, including the teams that have to put up with it next to him, because that's just more people buying tickets to races, right? But the whole environment, the whole vibe was sick. But yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, mate. Obviously, maybe touch on a couple more 450 guys if you wanted, but Justin Cooper, obviously, we've got to give him a mention, fastest qualifier. You know, he's right there. He's just that couple of percent off those elite guys, and I suppose it's like his first, you know, proper rookie season as a 450, you know. He suits that format pretty well with the good starts, and it was quite hard to pass, and, you know, getting some time up there leading and just learning that level, I guess, even though, you know, the guy sort of breezed by him eventually. But, yeah, he hung in there well. Another challenging day at the office, like a lot to take in and a lot to navigate. But, yeah, he's right on the limit, he was saying there, and it's just like fine margins. Obviously, you could go faster, but it's just not really feasible for your safety and getting through the season. And he said he was even toning the bike down because those 450s have got a lot to give, you know. So he's making gains. He's not far off. He's just got to get that couple more percent and he'll be right up there, won't he, mate?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he looks like at Anaheim. I think a full off season. I don't know if he's re-signed with Star. I don't have enough time to pay attention to that shit. He did.
I
So
think he's good to go for next year.
yeah, they'd be insane to get rid of him, dude. But dude, you know, I asked him on Friday, I go, you can come out here and hurt some feelings. He goes, "That's the point, buddy." And he kind of laughed as he walked away. Some bitch came out and qualified fastest. He got a whole shot, you know. I mean, Justin's a gamer, dude. Real quiet, walk softly and carry a big stick, you know, kind of guy. And he's gonna whack somebody with that stick next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Any insights on Lawrence and Sexton, Mookie, AP obviously had a rough day. Colt Nichols, very impressive. Cooper Webb, not the day he wanted, obviously, and then Ferrandis as well. But yeah, any of those guys you want to touch on, mate? I'm sure you got some gold to come with.
Dude, it was cool to see Jet back. You could tell he was happy to be there. You know, he was kind of joking and having fun. He's got his little peach fuzz mustache going on, and you know, looking like he walked off a Paris runway, dude. We're all kind of going, what the fuck is he wearing? You know, but whatever, dude. He's having fun being him, and more power to him. And you know, I won't name names, but there's other people going, that's an interesting wardrobe choice, brother. You know, but hey, when you're Jet Lawrence, you can wear a trash bag to the race. And yeah, you got smoked by a dude wear a trash bag, bitch. What? You know, so you know, hey, I couldn't pull it off, but that kid can. The whole thing was just sick. Having Tomac there, RJ, I like that he completely annihilated himself, got up, shook it off, like booted his number plate off there, and still went out and ended up with a 9th overall. And he's like, "Oh, dude, Deegan kicked his ass." Yeah, Deegan won, but RJ kicked his own ass, and RJ's fine. RJ's going to be back, and he's like Rocky Balboa. You're going to knock him down, and he's going to get back up and keep coming after you. And like I said in our pod, if it is UFC, the two people I wouldn't want to fight are Hayden and RJ. Because even if you could kick their ass, if you don't destroy them, they're going to get up and be in your face all fucking day. They're just going to be punching you and punching you and punching you till you go, you know what? I don't care anymore. You win. Leave me alone. I've had enough of this shit. You know, that's how those dudes are. They're just animals. So for the people thinking that RJ doesn't have a chance, bullshit. That to me, he's the one guy that everybody's got to look out for, because if Hayden has a motor problem or a crash coming in the double and triple points, and RJ has one of his great races, it's game on. And that guy is just as the hungriest person in the world. I mean, he's right up there with Hayden with how hungry he is. And I love how he was behind Hayden, you know, yelling at him in the qualifying to, you know, let him know he was there. And then Hayden, you know, on the podium, I don't know if you guys all saw that post I put up on the podium when he comes back and he's like, "Well, I guess that yelling at me and qualifying didn't work out for RJ. And I was sitting there going, oh shit. Brian looks at me. He's kind of laughing because when Brian sees me with the phone, he knows what's going on, right? And I was just like, ooh, shit. And I just walked off and I'm immediately putting that thing up, dude, just dying laughing. I was like, dude, this is great, dude. That kid, one thing, dude, you guys got to understand, dude, that kid doesn't walk around in public like that, right? It's a persona. Look who his dad was, dude, a marketing genius with Metal Militia, right? And you see the he gives props to Juju on the podium. He even Chance, they'll beat him up and for being mean to Chance, but then he'll give him props when he does well, right? It's dude, a lot of it is the showmanship in him, dude. He's not a complete douchebag like all the people in the comments say. Yes, he says some shit that makes you go, God damn, bro. But there's a method to his madness. Just realize what you're seeing out there. The kid is a marketing genius like his pops. That's what my dad would do. That's what I'm going to do. Seriously.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. Obviously, everyone just gets so involved in it and it's sort of breaking down the barriers to the mainstream as well. And it's pretty cool. Like, he's obviously talking the talk, walking the walk. And, the riding, you couldn't deny it either, mate. Obviously, the fitness, we know what a bulldog is and how obviously hard he is. But, the creativity in the lines was so cool to see on that race too. The imagination. Obviously, he did so well to avoid Roos. And he just made passes look easy the way he'd weigh up the options and then execute so clinically, mate. So, I guess skills, smarts, finesse, it's all a deadly combo what he's bringing to the table right now. And he definitely looked a class above, and even the other riders were saying, yeah, we're not going for that quad, but he was just making it look easy. And that racecraft's there. He loved the layout. He's got that mindset, mate. And I guess he's put another flex on the competitors again. And he's fueled by criticism, fueled by any media talking crap on him. And he's not ashamed or afraid to bite back, is he, mate? Everyone's lapping it up at this point, aren't they?
He's like Godzilla. He goes and finds a nuclear reactor and chews on the son of a bitch to get power pellets, right? Like, oh, everybody else running from a nuclear reactor. I'm going to go eat on that son of a bitch, right? He's like Godzilla. But no, the gnarly thing was, and not enough people are talking about it, is his fastest lap time of the day was spot on with Jet's fastest lap time of the day. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it if ever, for all the people going, oh, Jet's going to wax his ass. Well, he may when he gets there. But when a kid on a 250 is doing what Jet's doing on a 450, you have to stop and go, okay, dude, this kid is something special. And even just this season, from the way he rode last season, is a completely different Hayden Deegan, and look at where he was the year before, an amateur. And we watched those videos of him when he first got on the Supercross track at Star. Shit, he got a little work to do. And then he did great last year. Got some wins and podiums and shit like that. And then you watch him this year. What's he going to be like next year? And I really hope he stays in the 250 outdoor class one more year. I don't want to see him go 450 next year. I want to see him go 250 one more year. If you look back at Ricky wish he would have stayed in the 125 class at the time one more year. And I hope Hayden and them are studying history and talking to those guys and seeing what the advantages would be. He's 18 years old. There's no reason to go ramrod yourself into the 450 class right now. Just dominate that. Be the winningest guy ever in the 250 class. Claim that, stamp everything, refine your skills, just become even more undeniable, and then move up, right? Don't rush it, right? What's that old saying, the father and his son cow are sitting on the hill and he says, hey, Dad, let's go down there and screw one of those cows. And he goes, no, son, let's walk down and screw them all. He just needs to walk down and screw them all in a couple of years. So, yeah, the kid's ridiculous, but you touched on it, the crossing the mainstream, that kid and the shit he's saying on the podiums and then doing, and then his riding, that's going to get people who've never watched a motocross race in their life. They're going to see a soundbite from him, and then they're going to watch him ride, which is going to get them to watch him ride. And then they're going to get excited, because you got to be half dead or retarded not to get excited when you see that dude railing a bull turn in Supercross or just going ape shit on a motocross track. But when they see that kind of personality, that's why Dana White has got the UFC so dialed. If there was no personality in it, the fighting's the fighting. People would watch it, but people also watch for the press conferences and the drama and the talking shit. And again, that's where Deegan and them, they're not dumb. They're paying attention to what's working in business and getting people to come to the fights and the races and stuff like that. And that kid's the kind of guy who's going to do what McGrath did, bringing out the outside stuff and kind of what Bubba did and some of that stuff. I think he's going to bridge that gap and bring in a lot of outside stuff, maybe even more so than Jet. Jet will bring in a lot of outside stuff, but not being an American, it's a little bit different. I think when you got the golden boy from America getting out there and just doing America type shit in America, it's going to put a lot of asses in a lot of seats and take a lot of money out of a lot of people's wallets.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be awesome to see. It's going to be box office. And I think, like we were saying, Motocross of Nations 2025, do you have Deegan, Tomac, Sexton? Who's going to be able to get a ticket to that, mate, let alone accommodation except you?
Dude, all I know, dude, is when I go out to Ironman, my buddy lives like 20 minutes from there. And I'll be getting up at 2 a.m. and I'll be driving in the middle of the night, and I'll take a nap in my car. I will not deal with that shit because there are going to be 100,000 people at that freaking race, and it's going to be it'll be a nightmare, dude. I'll bring a little camping kit, dude. I'll go find a hose out in the back, take a bath in the creek. I don't care. But once I get there, I'm not leaving until like 8 hours after the race is over, because it's going to just be wild. But yeah, I'm here for it. That's going to be insane.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's going to be wicked. Obviously, touch on a couple other guys. Obviously, Juju, super impressive show. He looked really comfortable up there, getting that gap early. Obviously, got reeled in by the Deegan, like we were saying. But yeah, he was leading laps. It's such a great learning experience, and they get used to it. Then, they obviously hold their breath when they're doing it, and then they sort of get more comfortable. And then it becomes natural. But yeah, he's been firing at the test track the last few weeks, he was saying, getting that confidence from the training, which is pretty cool. And obviously, that jet ski qualified for the World Championships there, which is pretty amazing, being a lead at two sports like that. But yeah, pretty happy with him, mate. You're impressed seeing him in person. Obviously, Kitchen as well. Obviously, Deegan got all these guys, but it's still a strong first round. Content with that, build into the next two rounds where the points elevate. So I guess he's just really cemented himself as that number one guy at Pro Circuit again, even though he's fallen short Supercross, Motocross, and he might even fall short SMX, but it's been a great season for him. Definitely vindicated in making the switch, isn't it?
Yeah. Juju was on fire, dude. Davey is a great trainer. Davey's, he's 10 years younger than me, but he's old school, right? He's got an old school mentality of don't be a bitch. Just get out there and grind. If you're 5 minutes late, Juju probably has to do like another moto or something. One of those kind of guys, right? And I couldn't be happier for Juju and Davey. Everybody kind of like, why Davey? I've heard some comments about that, and I'm like, well, dude, the dude was a freaking savage when he raced, and now look at him. He's making a man out of Juju real quick, right? And a little inside joke thing here to share with everybody. He hates being mistaken for Justin Brayton. I guess there's a thing where people always come up to him and go, "Hey, Justin, what's going on?" Hey, frick, Justin Brayton, right? And so it's kind of like an inside joke that Bruce let me in on. And so, and Justin Brayton knows about it. So I'll see Justin walking through the hallways. I'll go, "Davey, what up?" And he'll be like, "Screw you, dude." And I'll do the same thing to Davey. And they're like, "Who's this smart ass media moron?" But I don't give a shit. I'm going to treat everybody the same. Right. And so when I put up that social media post, I'm like, "Man, congratulations to Julian Beaumer and Justin Brayton," Davey Millsaps. And I run into Davey and Juju in the security line at the airport Sunday. And Davey's just shaking his head and looking at me like, "You asshole." But behind him, Juju's sitting there laughing because, he's like, he hates it. Keep doing it, So we're having, it's fun, the inside kind of shenanigans that go on and kind of messing with people, between the riders and the coaches and the teams and stuff. That's why I think it's the best sport in the earth. It's gnarly, and the people are still the same morons that we work with and grew up with that just are going to get in trouble, and you probably can't leave us to our own devices because we'll end up in jail or in a morgue or something, right? But they're just freaking rad dudes, dude. And it's just been an absolute blast. So and I think Davey is the perfect guy to work with Juju, right? And so good on those dudes. But yeah, I just wanted to share that insight on that because it's pretty goddamn funny.
Oh, mate, we're here for the funny stuff. And obviously, you're a great character, and you sort of endeared yourself to them, obviously, being at the races for so long now, and they don't mind talking a bit of trash with you, mate. They're comfortable with you.
Either that or I'm going to get my ass kicked, one of the two, but it's going to be fun.
That's awesome, mate. I love hearing your insight. And I guess the last topic before we wrap this one up, obviously in the press conference, there was so much chat about, is there too much racing, mate? Obviously, lots to weigh up. Obviously, we love the racing, but it's a lot on the finances and obviously the team. The sponsors are so much to balance and work out. Obviously, they asked Tomac and he was pretty, he's missed a fair bit of time, so it didn't really bother him. And after the day he had, and, Jet said 31 races is stupid, even though the paycheck keeps them coming back. There's sort of things that need to be done. And I think Sexton used the word dumb, that the fact that there is that much racing and they don't understand how much work and training they have to go through, not just for the Supercross and Motocross season, but to get the Super Motocross stuff going too, because they build spec tracks, something similar to train on. There's a lot of resources, investment gone into it. And I guess safety needs to be paramount, doesn't it, mate? Pushing edges, limits, fine margins between winning and definitely losing in more ways than one. So I guess the danger is elevated for him every time. And, it's inherent whenever they jump on a bike. But I guess there's a lot of talk to cutting the rounds down and making it more of a unique event, dropping Supercross to 14 or 15. Obviously, is that sort of something that's interested you? And how do you see it, mate? As short off seasons for these guys, it just makes everything more harder. And I guess a lot of them is choice when they do the World Supercross and Paris Supercross and Aussie Supercross. But it's an interesting balance that needs to be monitored pretty closely going forward for careers longevity wise and that kind of thing. And I think to finish before we let you speak, Sexton said the riders definitely need more of a voice, and because the organisers definitely control the narrative. So a lot of things to tuck into there, mate. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't really like doing the press conferences just because I'm me, and I'll be like, so what the fuck happened out there? Oops, and then Sean Brennan's grabbing me by the ear going, you big stupid, getting my ass kicked in the back by Sean. I don't want to do that. So I'll go do them. But if I do, I'm going to ask something funny like AP about dyeing his mullet red, white, and blue. And he's like, dude, if I dye his hair, it's going to fall out, bro. So if I do, I try to, we're allowed to be a little colorful and funny, but I have a propensity to drop an F-bomb here or there. I guarantee some of Ping's hair loss the last year has been because of me, but whatever. But it got spicy. I usually don't go to him, but I decided to go over to this one because we have Brent who gets on the Zoom call to ask questions, and he's pretty straight-laced and proper, right? So he's going to have, we're not going to get in trouble with Brent there. Me getting there, it might be we're in the principal's office. But for some reason, I was like, I'm going to go over there. And I was sitting there listening to Jason, and I'm thinking, holy shit. And I'm like looking back over my shoulder at Prater and everybody, and they're all just kind of intently looking. And I'm like, this is supposed to be about the race, not about kicking the shit out of these guys. But all right, here we are, and Eli was pretty, you could tell he wanted to say more, but, being the wise old man that he is, he kind of, agreed, but didn't beat him up. Jet was like, yeah, it's dumb, yeah, it's fucking dumb, that's all I got to say. It's fucking dumb. But Chase kind of let him have it, dude. He did. Not talking shit, but just polite, professional, and voiced his thing. The only thing that I think those three riders did not do right when they did that in any business. I don't work just motocross media, right? I run a division of consultants and inspectors in the oil and mining industry in the USA, and real high-end business shit. The decisions we make could cost hundreds of millions of dollars if we screw up, and people's lives, right? So I came from an old school group. If you've got an issue, definitely bring it to the table, but don't bring me a fucking issue without a damn solution or an idea to a solution. Don't, because otherwise I'm just going to say you're bitching. Now, I'm not saying they were bitching, but to be fair, they should have said, but this is what I want. If you're going to come to the table and say, this is stupid. Okay, it's stupid. But if we did 25 rounds, then we'd be happy, because they did make the comment at some point, we're all going to band together and refuse to come to the races. And that was like firing a bazooka across, a 16-inch shell from a battleship across the bow of another ship. But basically what happened, I was like, whoa, crap, that was pretty spicy comment, right? And do I disagree with them? Absolutely not. Do I disagree with their delivery? No, they just forgot one part of it, that they should have presented their thoughts on how to fix it. If you're going to go punch somebody in the face, you better have the cold beer for them to have with you when you're done, right? Don't just punch them in the face and walk away. That's dirty, right? So not that what they did was dirty, but I just think, I don't know if those guys have had the experience to think that way, but I wish those guys would have taken the opportunity to tell them what they wanted. And I had the mic in my hand and I was fixing to ask that question, and Dan was up on the lectern, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna go ahead and cut this off and go to the 250." And I felt like saying, "Hey, Dan, hold on." I was gonna call the guys out, not to be a dick, but I was gonna say it because I think it needed to be said. And I told everybody, I go, "Hey, if that conversation comes up in Dallas on Saturday, I'm asking the question. Don't cut the press conference off. I'm going to ask it, right? Because I think it's fair. If you're going to, you have to be fair to everybody involved in the partnership, right? And so that's one thing I wish I would have seen out of those guys that I think they missed the mark on. But to me, I think it should, I've given not that my opinion matters, but from a fan, we should all be having a conversation. I would do it the way I said with the rounds, and I would like to see it 25 rounds. Now, the problem is Feldzall, you think I'm going to let, 3 or 4 races go from Supercross and Davy's going to give up another round? You're smoking crack, right? So where does the revenue come from? If we do that, now who's going to eat that cost? If I'm running a business, okay, I made 100 million in revenue last year and I'm going to do less rounds. My ticket prices I'm going to business 101. I'm going to raise my prices. I'm going to make my money. Then the fans got to pay for that. So it's everybody's going to get on the internet, blah, 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 blah. But you got to think about it. Everybody's got a stake in this. And at some point, if you don't make it worth their while, then, just they do something else. I don't know. To me, maybe there needs to be a couple of privateer 2-stroke rounds in there or something, a privateer national, a privateer supercross or something. Let those guys get a month off in between the season and fill a couple of rounds with, and if you want to come race it, you can, but not required, not non-championship points paying. You'd still fill the stadium, you'd still fill the seats outside. And so it stirred a big pot, dude. But yeah, like I said, I think it was good of them to bring it up. They just missed the mark with not telling them their solution to it. I think they should have told the promoter. I think they owed the promoter to give their opinion on what they wanted. And like I said, if you're going to punch somebody in the face, have a cold beer for them afterwards.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, they just come off a heat of the battle with mixed results, and it's a fascinating topic. And there's many, obviously, things at play.
That's a good point. Chase was pissed. So Chase was probably a little more spicy than everybody else, right?
Yeah, mate, it's pretty cool to hear your thoughts because you're around these guys week in and week out. And I guess they are the stars of the show. And, Jet was making light of it with his humor. You take one race away and add 3. So that's my maths. That's not how it should work, but that's how it's working kind of thing. And they all had a chuckle. But, like you said, the TV deal associated with it is massive. And there's a lot of partners that, they want to get their return on investment and all that. And sort of the ship sailed a little bit for now, I guess, on cutting down the season, mate. So any final thoughts on that before we wrap it up? And what's the week ahead look like at Whiskey Throttle?
I think they need to, during the off season, they need to get the teams and the riders and the promoters and lock them all in the room for a couple days and sort it out. If you have to put a boxing ring over in the corner and go sort some shit out, with no cameras, no phones, no nothing. That'd be great. That'd be some good fly on the wall entertainment. But no, I just think they all need to get on the same page. And, everybody always paints Feld and Davey Coombs and those guys as the evil empire, the bad guys. Davey's a great freaking dude. All those guys at Feld, they just want to do good. But, if you could walk around and see the inner workings and walk around and see what it takes to put one of those gigs on, it's mind-boggling, dude. The shit I work around is an absolute circus, but I know it. I know exactly what everybody's doing and what it takes to get something done, and those guys do too. So when you're on the outside looking in, it's like people bitching that gas is $6 a gallon in the United States, and I'm like, dude, if you fucking only knew what we did, you're lucky you're not paying $15 to $20 a gallon. I mean, hurry up and wait is a huge thing in America in a refinery, and the amount of wasted time is just ridiculous. But I'm not saying that happens in motocross and supercross, but it's just a massive undertaking. And you don't just turn the Titanic on a dime, or not. Well, Titanic's probably the wrong ship to use. This one's not sinking, but you don't turn a large cruise ship on a dime, right? It's not a speedboat. It takes time to to get the momentum going in a different direction. So anything they do, like everybody beating the crap out of the outdoor nationals about the flaggers and stuff, but Davey and them are working on that, the GPS thing and all that shit, right? It takes time, but they are working on it. You guys just don't see it, you know? And so it's been an eye opening for me because I was one of the goons in the back going, oh, it's fucking bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Then I get on the inside, I'm like, okay, so I was kind of wrong on that. Okay. You know, and there's still some things that's like, bro, you could do that a little better, but nobody's perfect. And so I think everybody just needs to calm down and appreciate the shit that we have a series. We have the best in the world here doing what they're doing. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. And the objective is to make it an elite level series, like MotoGP or Formula One racing. I mean, you're blind if you don't see it heading that way. And it's going to take time to get there. You need to do things like the SMX playoffs to get there. There's just a fine line of what they do with the athletes. The hardest part, I think, is from all the other sports is the athletes' lives are at risk. I think Formula One, MotoGP, MXGP, and Supercross, Motocross, those four disciplines are the gnarliest in the world because those guys risk their life every time they take the track. And so the longer you put them out and the fatigue kicks in over the season, they're more and more at risk. That's the thing and those guys do really care about their safety and their well-being. You know, you don't want Seabiscuit out in the pen. You want them out there on the track, right? So to think that they don't care is foolish from a business standpoint purely. So I don't know. I'm kind of ranting on, but it's going to take time to change it. SMX needed to happen. It's just where do we find the fine line to where these guys don't go, hey, screw you guys, I'm just going to race Supercross and that's it. I'll be fine, right? You know, and so you don't want that. And some of them may get there. And you know what? If they do it, you just got to let them. You know, it's like being in a relationship. If they don't want to be there, fine, peace. Somebody else will fill the slot. So it's going to be that press conference. I don't think a lot of people have caught on to it yet, but that thing opened up a big box of things that are going to talk about between now and January next year and for years to come after that. That was a pretty significant thing to have happen.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see what comes of it and the conversations that arise from it, mate. But yeah, that's been the podcast again. It's been a ripper show, mate. We've covered a lot of ground in 40 odd minutes so far plus. But yeah, what's on the rest of the schedule for the week, mate? Heading into the next round of SMX. Busy, mate. You're pumping out the content, getting so many views. It's all happening, mate. You're doing a great job. So what's it look like? And anyone you'd like to thank and shout out to as well while we're at it?
I just thank Whiskey Throttle and Dave and Nate and all the guys I work with and, you know, Super Motocross for being crazy enough to let me run around out there, and all of our followers and the teams and the riders that you know, interact with us. Without you guys, it wouldn't happen. For you guys letting me come on and talk shit across the pond, you know, listen, big old redneck boy talking shit, you know, thank you, and look forward to doing more of it.
Nah, mate, we're here for it. We should have some more guests lined up. All sorts of stuff happens. So we're going to end the year strong with nations and whatnot, preview shows. So yeah, we look forward to it, mate. And obviously, thanks to you as well. Thanks for everyone listening and supporting the site. And obviously, thanks to our partners in 24MX, Dirt Store, Fuke Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right, Jeff, thanks again, mate, for joining us. All the best for the rest of the week, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out Monday. I'll be driving, but we'll have to maybe do it Monday evening, my time. But yeah, we'll have to catch up after Fort Worth.
No worries, mate. Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, later, brother.